Hi everybody, TJ Mack of Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. I hope everybody had a safe and enjoyable 4th of July. We spent a quiet day around the house and took some time to relax, as it's been quite busy with our kids' baseball and softball seasons. My youngest daughter doesn't have a tournament this weekend, but my oldest son's team will be playing in a wood bat only tournament. They only usually participate in those once a year, but I always enjoy hearing the ball make contact with the wooden bat. There's that sharp, resonant crack. It's a very clean, crisp sound. Sounds like the snap of a sturdy branch breaking. Now, for this week's video, I want to take a look at where I'm at 6 months into 2024 with my collection. Now, here are 3 cards I have not shown yet on my channel that fit into the puzzle that is my collection. These are acquisitions I made earlier this year, and I'll talk more about them each in future episodes. But I wanted to use the visual to open today's video. Now, I planned on acquiring more cards of Ken Anderson this year, and I added this 1974 Topps. This is a second-year card. I think he's one of the best and most impactful players not in the Hall of Fame. And then next to him, you have a 1961 Topps rookie card of Reds pitcher Jim Maloney. Now, to me, he's one of the top 10 or 12 best pitchers of the 1960s. Unfortunately, his career was cut short by injuries, or he may have been a Hall of Fame type pitcher. He had some great seasons. And then third here, you have the 1981 Topps John Stallworth. And 1981 Topps is probably the most nostalgic set from my childhood. I remember ripping so many packs of these cards and having many of these images, including the Stallworth, burned into my brain. Now, these are all topics I plan on covering more deeply in the future. Now, each year in January, I put together collecting goals and put it in a YouTube video. And as I've mentioned in previous videos where I discuss my goals, I aim to add a few specific cards, just a few, but really my goals are more like a compass. They're pointing me in the right direction, but they don't take me to a specific destination. That's how I find the balance between being focused but also opportunistic to take advantage of items that I'm looking for. And frankly, it's a lot of fun just to be free to some degree to pick cards out or magazines that I just think fit into my collection. Now, I've missed out on some cards on my list because I already spent a portion of my budget for that month. And I don't tend to go over my budget unless I'm getting close to the end of a month and I can use part of next month's budget. And that's just how I've been collecting for 25 plus years, and it's worked really well for me. Right now, I'm about $100 under budget for the year, which coupled with this month's budget gives me some wiggle room if I want to pick up a higher dollar card. I just am not a big believer. This is just a hobby for me. I'm not looking to spend, at least for my budget, huge money in cards. I just want to keep it balanced and a healthy hobby for me. And this is how it works best for my collecting. Now, in 2024, my plan was to add 65 to 125 items to my collection. I'm really trying to control the growth of my collection, and that number may go down even over time. And this includes cards and magazines, but not gifts from friends. So far, I'm at about 48 cards this year, and I have cards and magazines. I have acquired 5 magazines and 43 cards. Now, here's a breakdown of the cards. Of those 43, 13 have been baseball, 25 football, and 5 hockey. Now, I actually thought I bought nearly as much baseball as football, but it appears that I've been buying a lot more football, and that's probably just because the opportunity's been there. And here's the breakdown by decade. I have 4 from the 40s, 6 cards from the 50s, 22 from the 60s, 7 from the 70s, and 4 from the 80s. Frankly, I thought I acquired more cards from the 50s, so it's really interesting to see this breakdown where I'm at. Now, I thought it would be fun to look at some of the purchases and pick out some of my favorites. First, I want to show you the card that cost me the least amount of money, the most amount of money, and the best deal I got so far. The least expensive card I acquired is this 1960 Topps 49ers wide receiver Billy Wilson. It's in an SGC6. I haven't shown it yet on my channel, and if you're looking for cheap cards of a player who I think is Hall of Fame worthy, then take a look at Billy Wilson. This card cost me $5.89, and that's with tax and shipping. This is his last regularly issued card, I believe. And Wilson is, to me, a Hall of Fame player, even though he's not been inducted. If you take a look at his career, he played from 1951 to 1960. He was probably the best all-round receiver in the league during that time. He was an exceptional blocker on a 49ers team that was known for running the ball. They had Hall of Famers like Hugh McElhaney, Joe Perry, and John Henry Johnson. However, Wilson, he was also known to catch the ball, leading the NFL in receptions 3 times in 1954, 1956, and 57. In his 10-year career, he had 407 receptions, which is 42 more than second place Billy Houghton, and he was second in receiving yards with 5,902, trailing only Houghton. And he led all players in receiving touchdowns with 49. He was just a fantastic player of his era, and certainly a card that would be worthy in many football collections. The most expensive card I acquired so far this year is this 1948 Leaf Doak Walker, and this is his first card. He's actually in college when this card was issued. I've talked about this card in another video. I'm not going to get into it too extensively again. But this card gets very pricey in higher condition. While it's not rare, it's also not a very common card. So it cost me about $201. Now the best deal, which I've also talked about a couple months back, I made so far this year, is this 1965 Topps Bobby Hull. Paid $89 with tax and shipping for this card. And the same night I bought it, a PSA 6.5 sold for $143 before shipping and tax. So I think BBG cards are a great value for collectors right now if you know what you're looking for. Now my 3 nominees for my favorite photo on a card are the 1974 Topps Vada Pinson, which is in the center here. And I talked about this card a few months back. It looks like he's hitting a home run, but he actually swung and missed, as you can see the ball in Thurman Munson's mitt. And second is this beautiful image of the great wide receiver Del Schaffner on this 1960 Topps card. And I love the Rams yellow uniform. And then finally, you have this wonderful sideline photo of Hall of Fame defensive lineman Andy Robustelli on this 1961 Fleer card. It was taken at Yankee Stadium, where the Giants played their games back from the 50s into the early 70s. And I just love the look on his face. It wasn't often you saw players with their face masks on during this era on cards. And then it's also something you don't commonly see a game day photo during that time. So I have to go as my winner for this, the Andy Robustelli card. I lost out on a few of them, and it just made it all the sweeter when I was able to acquire this one for my collection. My 3 nominees for most beautiful card are this 1951 Bowman of Eagles defensive end John Green. I love the colors on this card with the green stands in the background. And then it looks like he's jumping up to grab the eagle. Then you have Hall of Famer Leo Boivin on the super sharp and colorful 1961 Topps hockey card. And I'm just a sucker for pink cards, and this one is a standout. And then finally you have this classic photo of Hall of Famer Robin Roberts on this 1954 Bowman. Now my choice for most beautiful card of these 3 is the Roberts. Just a classic looking shot with the striking blue sky in the background and the green grass. And then you have a smiling Roberts clad in the red Phillies pinstripes. Now the name block with his auto also complements the card nicely. Just a super attractive image and a great example of a 1950s baseball card. My 3 nominees for my favorite story through cards are this 1950 Bowman Sal, or 52 Bowman Sal Magley. And I did a video just a couple weeks ago on Father's Day weekend on this Magley card. And he was born in Niagara Falls, New York, just like me. And my grandfather knew and worked with him as a coach and an officer in the local Little League that Magley helped set up. and just a very special connection. And then next you have this 1961 Topps Bobby Richardson. And I told you how the 1963 Topps Bombers Best, and I'll place it right here. It just reminds me of Mickey Mantle's and Bobby Richardson's special relationship and how Richardson helped Mickey become a Christian when he knew he was dying from cancer. And the cross bats look like St. Andrew's cross, which the Apostle Andrew was a very humble man who was known to quietly bring people to Jesus. He was one of the original 12 disciples. And when Andrew died after Jesus died, he was crucified, and he didn't want to die the same way as Jesus did on the cross, so he asked to be tilted to the side. That's why it looks like an X. So just a special meaning to me, just even going back to my grandmother, and it's just a special card. And the third is this 1960 Fleer rookie card of Abner Haynes. And in one of my AFL videos, I talked about how the NFL's Steelers wanted to draft Haynes, and that the coach, Buddy Parker, and the quarterback, Bobby Lane, showed up at Abner's house drunk, stating he was going to be a Steeler. And Abner's dad, who was a Baptist minister, told his son, "You won't be playing for the Steelers." And instead, Abner ended up signing with the AFL's Dallas Texans. This was a tough one because I just enjoyed all these stories, but really my favorite is the Magley story, because I just discovered this year about how deep the relationship was between Magley and my grandfather. And it was just very interesting to find news articles showing pictures of them together. So I have to go with that one. And finally, my favorite card pickup of the year comes down to this 1964 Topps American League Bombers card that I picked up last month. Just love this card because it has 4 players that I enjoy collecting. And my father was a huge Mantle and K-Line fan, so it makes me think of him. The second is this 1958 Topps first card of running back Cookie Gilchrist. This is from the inaugural Canadian Football League, or CFL, set issued by Topps. Very, very tough card, and I was thrilled to add it. Gilchrist, who later starred with the Buffalo Bills of the AFL, was viewed by some as the AFL's answer to Jim Brown. He was really that good a player. And the last nominee is the first card I picked up in 2024, this 1965 Topps Jean Beliveau. And you could make the case he is hockey's most underrated superstar. It's arguably one of the top 10 best forwards to ever play the game, and was an even better man off the ice. Love the look of this card, but I have to go with as my favorite, the Gilchrist. I cannot believe I found this card, and I got it at a pretty good price, I think. So there you have it. I look forward to what the rest of the year brings. I love the way I collect because it just suits me perfectly, and that's really what matters, is how I enjoy collecting, because it's my collection. So now I know I'm building something for me that has great meaning, and it's just reflective of the person I am. So everybody have a great week, and we will talk again soon.